Hey everybody, and welcome back to another tier ranking video. Today, I want to do every MLB team starting shortstop. Now, before we begin, I want to establish one thing. While I will be using Fangraph's predictions as to who will start in 2025 and some of my thinking, the final discretion will end up coming down to my own personal opinion. I also did want to explain my tier list system, so if you don't want to hear that, skip the timestamp currently on the screen right now. An F tier player is somebody who is, in all manners, terrible. Basically, shouldn't even be at the big league level, let alone starting. D tier is for those guys who are barely holding on to an MLB job, scraping enough together to get by, but not by much, and without much anticipation for growth in the upcoming season, or a guy who is almost certainly misplaced at his current position. C tier is for those average players, or guys who I think are going to be about average, no more, no less. This doesn't mean they can't jump or fall in seasons beyond 2025, but again, this is a list specifically for the upcoming season. B tier is for solid performers, guys who aren't going to blow you away with their production, but will sneakily post valuable numbers by year's end. A tier is when we start getting into star territory, reserved for those players who are routinely all-stars, who finish top 20 in MVP voting year in and year out. And finally, S tier is reserved for our true superstars, those guys who could easily throw up 7+ WAR in the upcoming year, challenging for an MVP trophy in the process, guys who are playing at a borderline Hall of Fame level as of now. With that being said, let's hop right into it, going west to east in alphabetical order, starting in the NL this time. Our first player comes from the Diamondbacks, with the, at times, slick fielding Geraldo Perdomo. While his defense has declined a bit in recent seasons, he's still managed to be worth about 2 wins a season over the last 2 years, posting roughly average hitting numbers while swiping a couple bases. This is not somebody who is set for a big breakout, as none of his quality of contact metrics inspire a ton of confidence, but being as how Perdomo has managed to be consistent in recent seasons, I think we can confidently say he'll probably perform at about the same level in 2024. Keep an eye out for Jordan Lawler, however, who could easily snatch this job away mid-season. As you can probably guess with all of my mentions of average, Perdomo does go into the C tier. The Dodgers are up next with their declared starter at shortstop being Mookie Betts, though I am doubtful he'll stick there the whole season after 2024's poor performance there, advanced numbers wise. Still, we're talking about a Hall of Fame level talent here, who hasn't posted anything less than 4 WAR in a full season, which of course excludes 2020, since he played over 100 games for the first time in 2015. This has come with 7 top 10 MVP finishes, including winning the trophy in 2018, 271 dingers, a 138 OPS+, and a near 900 career OPS. Even if he throws up -5 to -10 fielding run value in 2025, there's no way I can rate him any lower than S tier here, by sheer virtue of him bringing with him one of the most impressive resumes currently existing in the MLB overall. But before we get more into that, I want to tell you about today's sponsor, Prize Picks. Now, I know you might find yourself asking, why would I want to explore a new daily fantasy app? I get it, there's a lot of them out there. But with Prize Picks, there's a couple notable differences between them and the other players in the space that, in my opinion, separate them fundamentally. Prize Picks is the only daily fantasy app that has an injury insurance policy. So, if one of your picks has to leave early, you still have a lineup that's live. For example, if a player has to leave in the first half of a game and doesn't return, your picks are still kept active. Prize Picks has the option for a flex play, which means even if you don't get all of your picks right, you can still cash out. On top of that, if you decide you want to cash out, you can get your money in as short as 15 minutes. On top of all of this, Prize Picks actually has a promo going right now for the upcoming Super Bowl, where you essentially get one near certain pick, with Patrick Mahomes just having to get over 1 passing yard for you to hit on your first selection. You can see my personal picks here as well, with me choosing Saquon Barkley for at least 1 TD, either passing or on the ground, Jalen Hurts for the same, and then future Hall of Famer Travis Kelce for at least 64 receiving yards. Feel free to come back to this video and comment on the eventual outcome if this ends up hitting or failing ridiculously. Regardless, if you download the app today and use code MTC, you can get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, that's code MTC after you download the Prize Picks app for $50 instantly after you submit your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. Now, back to our video. The Giants bring with them our first offseason acquisition, with Willy Adames coming in on a 7-year, $182 million contract. What did he do to deserve this, you might ask? Well, how about hitting at least 24 home runs every season since 2021, along with posting a minimum of 3 WAR a season and averaging around an 800 OPS, including a 794 mark this past year when he set his career highs in home runs at 32, RBIs at 112, runs at 93, and doubles at 33. He plays a very consistent amount of games year to year as well, and while he certainly isn't the cream of the crop when it comes to shortstops, he's as solid a year to year performer as you're going to find, with many of his underlying hitting numbers per Baseball Savant being impressive as well. Throw in a defensive profile that has seen him record 20 fielding runs since 2022, and you have a very solid A tier selection in my opinion. Xander Bogaerts transitioned back to being a shortstop for the Padres midway through the 2024 season, and did so pretty successfully, not only managing to post a positive fielding run value between there and second base, but also seeing his second half numbers improve drastically. With this being said, his overall totals certainly left quite a bit to be desired, as his 264, 307, 381 slash line with just 27 extra base hits through 111 games didn't really leap off the page at ya. Combine that with a pedestrian 1.2 WAR and 92 OPS plus, and you have what amounts to a truly mixed bag of a year for the former Red Sox. There's still a lot of upside here, as Xander managed to post at least 4 wins above replacement every year from 2018 through 2023, COVID season notwithstanding, before last year's drop-off, and he did so while posting an under 800 OPS just once. Unfortunately, he is aging, so he'll need to prove he can get back to there, while also showing that his defense at shortstop is more of what he posted in 2022, as his 2021 and prior output with the glove was one of the worst in baseball. With all this being said, the guy still was on a borderline Hall of Fame trajectory before last season, so I don't think I can give him anything lower than B tier as of now, with ample room for him to slide up or down the scale based on what he's able to do in 2025. In what has become somewhat of a tradition in Denver, the Rockies are set to begin the upcoming season with a standout performer at shortstop and little else to surround him. I'm of course talking about Ezequiel Tovar here, who posted almost 4 wins above replacement during his age 22 season to go along with the league-leading 45 doubles, impressive 26 home runs, and perfectly adequate 103 OPS plus. While Coors Field certainly helped with his offensive counting numbers, he was worth more than his inflated offensive profile in large part due to his truly exceptional fielding, which netted him the NL Gold Glove, 11 fielding runs per StatCast, and 2.0 DWAR. When you add all that together, you get a top 20 MVP finishing season, surprisingly enough, which is probably more than anyone would have expected out of the Venezuelan prospect when he broke into the big leagues for good back in 2023. Will he be able to keep up this level of production in the upcoming season? Honestly, it's hard to tell. His peripherals don't look amazing, but they don't necessarily have to for players who call Coors Field home half the time. As such, I'm going to throw Tovar into the B tier here, as he'll probably slot behind somebody like Bogaerts when it comes to offensive production, but will certainly outpace him in the field. Moving to the NL Central now, we have the Brew Crew. Milwaukee, of course, recently lost their starting shortstop Adames to the Giants in free agency, leaving a vacancy that could be filled by a couple young players, including Bryce Terang, who could slide over from second base, or Joey Ortiz, who could move from third. Fangraphs expects Ortiz to take the majority of the at-bats up the middle as of now, and considering that Terang just won a Gold Glove at second base, I think that's probably pretty likely as well. Ortiz certainly did do some impressive things as a rookie in 2024, posting nearly 3 WAR in his first campaign to go along with the league average 101 OPS plus and 42 extra base hits. Sure, he didn't exactly blow anyone away, but that kind of solid production from a guy in his first season should inspire some confidence going forward. The one caveat here is the fact that a lot of his expected numbers weren't really all that impressive, but he did make up for this somewhat with his 89th percentile fielding run value of 8. It's an open question whether or not he'll adapt well to short, but I do expect him to make some strides at the plate as well in his second year. As such, I expect his overall profile to balance out pretty well to about the C tier. Mason Wynn's rookie season in 2024 was amongst the best in baseball overall, as he managed to pair perfectly average hitting numbers, posting a 102 OPS plus, 730 OPS, and 52 extra base hits with some truly impressive fielding, tallying a 2.4 DWAR and 4 fielding run value, while breaking the all-time record for the hardest infield throw in Major League Baseball history at an otherworldly 101.7 miles per hour. All of this combined into a 4.9 WAR, which is borderline all-star levels according to Baseball Reference. Like Tovar and Ortiz, though to a lesser degree, all of his offensive numbers were tempered by the fact that his overall profile at the plate, advanced-wise, didn't really stand out that much. Still, league average hitting, when combined with this kind of elite defensive profile, gets you a pretty valuable player, especially when considering this is only going to be his sophomore season. While it isn't the threshold for me, I'm thinking A tier for now, just because he was almost able to post 5 WAR in his first season. Imagine what a little maturation will do in his second. Dansby Swanson is next up for the Chicago Cubs, with his consistent performance over the last 3 seasons that has seen him post at least a 4 WAR every single year, with at least around league average hitting numbers, some sneaky impressive stolen base totals, and, quite simply, some of the best advanced fielding numbers we have on record, with 44 fielding runs since that 22 season, leading to back-to-back Gold Gloves preceding 2024. This guy is extremely consistent, even if we are seeing a progressive downswing in his overall offensive production, more than likely due to aging, and this kind of consistency easily has him in the A tier. At this time last year, we would have been ranking O'Neal Cruz here with our pick in Pittsburgh, which would have certainly been an interesting exercise, but he has since moved to center field, where he excelled in limited time late in the year. As such, we're left with the presumptive starter there being the Pirates' utility man Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. Now, it's more than likely we'll see a host of players taking at-bats up the middle in the black and yellow in 2025. But as far as Kiner Falefa goes, he is coming off a career best year that saw him post his full season highs in slugging percentage, OPS, OPS+, and tie his career highs in home runs and WAR, with the latter number being an impressive 3.6 split between the Blue Jays and Buccos. His fielding numbers at shortstop left a lot to be desired, as they have in years past, and the fact that he's only posted about a 90 OPS+ once in a full season before last year certainly gives me a little bit of pause in ranking him. Still, I do think he should be about average, making him a member of the C tier, though if I had to rank him solely as a utility player, he would probably fall into the B as of now. Rounding out the Central, we have our second true superstar of the video, with the Cincinnati Reds' Elly De La Cruz, bringing with him the highest 2024 WAR so far we've looked at today, at a robust 5.2, to go along with 36 doubles, 10 triples, 25 home runs, a 119 OPS+, 809 OPS, and a ridiculous Major League leading 67 stolen bases. With how impressive these numbers were, it might seem hard to believe that his advanced totals were probably equally as impressive, as his fielding run value of 11 had him in the 94th percentile league-wide, and his base running run value of 7 had him tied for third in all of Major League Baseball. The guy hits the ball exceptionally hard, runs with 100th percentile speed of 30.0 feet per second, and totes one of the hardest throwing arms in Major League Baseball with an average arm strength of 91.0 miles per hour. There's quite literally nothing he can't do on the baseball field, even if he'll definitely want to cut down on his Major League leading 218 strikeouts as well. If you couldn't guess it by this point, he's going to join Betts in the S tier. Leading off our final National League division, we have Orlando Arcia of the Braves. Arcia took what was already a fairly mediocre 2023, during which he posted just 1.6 WAR through 139 games, and proceeded to shave off about a quarter of his hitting value, seeing his OPS+ fall from 99 all the way down to 73, which resulted in him posting a Major League worst batting run value of -32 per StatCast, which, when paired with his still pretty solid fielding totals and mediocre base running, yielded a wins above replacement total of just 0.5, one of the worst marks among everyday players in all of Major League Baseball. Considering this guy has more career seasons with an under 700 OPS than over, yet isn't a wizard with the glove or on the base paths, I'm going to have to designate him as our first player in the D tier. What a crazy turnaround for the Marlins when it comes to their shortstop production last season. They went from, quite simply, one of the worst performers there in baseball history to lead off the campaign in Tim Anderson, yet finished the year with a guy who managed to throw up a 328, 397, 423 slash with 31 steals, just 4 caught stealings in 70 games, helping him to rank amongst the team leaders with a 2.0 WAR despite playing less than half the season. I'm of course talking about Xavier Edwards. Sure, he only hit 1 home run with just 18 total extra base hits, but with his speed, a slap hitter's profile should work pretty well. The only major issue with his game as of now is his fielding, as his fielding run value of -8 in those same 70 contests had him on track to be one of the worst defenders there over a full season in Major League Baseball. This, when combined with the fact that he has just 100 games of experience so far at the highest level, limit him to the B tier, though this is still incredibly impressive for a guy with just 84 big league at-bats coming into 2024. We are back amongst the absolute cream of the crop with the Mets and their generational performer in Francisco Lindor, who somehow, despite never having been elected to an all-star game in Queens, has managed to improve his wins above replacement total, doubles, home runs, slugging percentage, and OPS every year he's played in New York, while managing to finish top 10 in MVP voting in each of the last 3 years, including his second place finish last season when he hit 33 home runs to go along with 29 steals and a career-high 138 OPS+. This guy is on track for a Hall of Fame trajectory if he can manage to keep up his current rate of play for about the next 5 to 7 years, so it should be little surprise that he is beyond a shadow of a doubt in our S tier. CJ Abrams of the Nationals is a pretty interesting case to me, as there was both a lot to like and dislike about his 2024 campaign. Let's start first with the positives, which included 55 extra base hits, a team-leading 20 home runs, 31 steals, and career bests in on-base percentage, slugging percentage, OPS, and OPS+, at a solid mark of 110. Now, for the negatives. He was caught stealing 12 times, cutting his success rate from the year before at a very productive 92% all the way down to 72%. He also saw his strikeout rate climb to a career-high 21.3%. But it was probably what he did in the field that was the most disheartening, as his fielding run value of -13 was tied for second worst in all of Major League Baseball. This is despite the fact that he missed about 20 games throughout the course of the season, which also included an internal suspension later in the year for gambling-related activities. He is just 24 as of now, and posting a 3.4 WAR in back-to-back seasons at that age certainly shouldn't be ignored, but both the makeup concerns and his subpar work with the glove do knock him down to the B tier for me, though I will be the first to admit he could totally make me eat my words with a strong showing in the upcoming season. We finish off the National League with Trey Turner and the Phillies. While Turner's production has wavered a bit at points during his time in Philly, the hard facts are, in 2 seasons there, he's averaged over 20 home runs and stolen bases per year, posted a near 800 OPS, a near 120 OPS plus, and 11 runner runs per StatCast, which is tied for 6th best in Major League Baseball over that time span. I think he very solidly belongs, right below the absolute best of the best, and right above the solid performers, comfortably in A tier. Our first American League team is going to be the Angels, with an emerging star in tow being Zach Neto, who followed up a promising rookie season with a breakout sophomore campaign that saw him post 5.1 WAR, 23 home runs, 30 stolen bases, and a 110 OPS plus. That's right, he almost equaled Elly De La Cruz in total value per Baseball Reference last year, which was due in large part to the fact that he managed to throw up 11 DRS, with a league-leading range factor per 9 innings of 4.3. With this being said, the reviews on his defense are a bit mixed, as Baseball Reference actually had him at -3 fielding run value, but you can't discount what he was able to do both at the plate and on the bases, which he should be able to build on going into year 3. If Mike Trout can't find a way to stay healthy going forward, it's very possible Neto becomes the face of the Angels. And with his A-tier designation here, there's little wonder as to why. Jeremy Pena of the Astros is certainly an interesting case, as many people probably aren't aware of just how consistent he's been since he made his debut in 2022, never posting a WAR lower than 3.8 to go along with the career 99 OPS plus, 707 OPS, and 47 home runs to 44 stolen bases. Along the way, he's managed to win a Gold Glove, posting decent advanced fielding numbers season to season, though he has gotten a bit worse every year he's been in the bigs. Still, while he might not be as flashy as some people thought he might be after his top 5 Rookie of the Year finish, he's still as solid as they come, and pretty much all of his advanced stats backed up his ability to maintain this performance, at least at the plate, going forward. No, he's not a superstar, but being as how you can pencil him in for a near all-star level 4 wins a season, you have to put him in the A tier. The Athletics are the first team we're going to look at today who have a player who's still Rookie of the Year eligible for 2025 as their starter, as Jacob Wilson currently is slotted in there as of today. While his 100 plate appearance sample last season wasn't awe-inspiring, it did give us a taste of something he's become known for, a tendency to avoid strikeouts while getting on base a decent amount, as he walked 8 times to just 10 Ks. This came after one of the more dominant stretches in AAA we've ever seen in an individual season, when, in 53 games, Wilson managed to combine 28 doubles with 7 home runs, strike out just 15 times, and bat an otherworldly .433. This came just a year after he batted over .330 in a 26-game sample, meaning that, as of now, 79 games into his minor league career, his batting average is .401. It's because of this that it does seem fairly likely he'll bat around 280 to 300 in a full MLB season, though with what seems to be somewhat limited power and very little speed to speak of. What's more, his defense is somewhat of an unknown quantity, as in that very limited sample size, he also posted -2 fielding run value. These unknowns, and the fact that Major League pitching is just so much harder than anything you'll face on the way up, means I'm going to have to put him in the C tier as of now, which, honestly, is pretty impressive, considering the fact that just 1 year ago he was playing in the NCAA, and I'm still asserting I could see him being an average Major League shortstop in his age 23 season. J.P. Crawford of the Mariners is up now, bringing with him one of the biggest drop-offs year to year that we saw from 2023 to 2024, as you saw his batting average, on-base percentage, and slugging percentage all drop by at least 60 points, with his OPS of 625 being a career low, despite him only having a 707 in his time in the big leagues overall. Sure, he posted 2.7 WAR in 105 games, which is around a 4-win pace, but I do think that's a little controversial, considering the fact that, like Neto, reviews on his fielding were mixed, as Baseball Reference had him at 9 DRS, yet Baseball Savant said that he only tallied 1 fielding run value. Yes, 2023 was great, but I think he's probably somewhere in between that season and last when it comes to what he'll put up in 2025, leading me to give him what is, in my opinion, a very solid designation in the B tier. Rounding out the West, we have the Rangers and Corey Seager, who is currently not only the best shortstop in his division, but among the best in the game, as he followed up an MVP runner-up season in 2023 with a 5-win campaign in about the same number of games, managing to lead his team in OPS, slugging percentage, and home runs. Yeah, he's not the most durable, but he is one of the most predictably good hitters in all of the major leagues, as his expected WOBA, expected batting average, expected slugging percentage, exit velocity, barrel percentage, and hard hit percentage were all in the 91st percentile or above. Oh yeah, and did I mention he managed to post 4 fielding runs last year as well? He may not stay at shortstop long term, with his speed progressively getting worse, lessening his quickness, coupled with the fact that his arm is pretty far below average too, but as of now, there's very few players up the middle that you can pencil in for 30 home runs a season, as he's done in each of the last 3 campaigns, and who knows, he might mess around and stay fully healthy one of these years, which would probably coincide with him aggressively challenging for an MVP. he is, most certainly, S tier. Moving on to the Central, we have Brayan Rocchio of the Guardians, who, in his 166 games of big league experience, has operated much like an old world shortstop, combining just a 213, 295, 317 slash in that time, coming out to a far below average 74 OPS plus, with a 2.1 D-WAR and 4 fielding run value last year. Do I think that he's going to be Cleveland's long-term answer up the middle? Unless he can drastically improve his quality of contact metrics, which have seen him post an expected slugging percentage, average exit velocity, and hard hit percentage all in the second percentile or lower, I don't think so, as he's simply not good enough with the glove to make up for the absolute drain he has at the plate. And hey, he also posted a -2 base running run value last year, so it's not like he's offsetting some of that negative performance with his legs either. In my opinion, he's on the edge of being replaced, even if I don't really know who that would be by as of now. I won't put him in F tier because he still does field well, but he certainly is one of the closest players we've looked at so far, yet will still slot in the D tier. We now come to the best shortstop we're going to talk about today, because he is, quite simply, in my opinion, the best player at his position in the game, currently being the Royals' Bobby Witt Jr. What can you even say about Witt and what he was able to accomplish last year that properly captures his elite excellence? Not only did he lead the league in batting average, but he also posted nearly 1,000 OPS, a 171 OPS plus, crushed 32 home runs, stole 31 bases, won a Silver Slugger and Gold Glove award, while pairing 95th percentile or above totals in StatCast's batting run value, base running run value, and fielding run value. I don't know if there's another player in baseball with the same amount of red in his overall player profile on Baseball Savant, but considering the results he had last season, I don't think that's very surprising. Expect him to heavily challenge in 2025 for MVP of the American League, which, if Aaron Judge loses even a step in his hitting, should be, assuming a similar level of performance as 2024, his to lose. This is about as S tier as it comes. The Tigers are an interesting case here, because while rookie Trey Sweeney didn't exactly light the world on fire during his 36-game sample size in 2024, his 0.7 wins above replacement still dwarfed the -1.1 posted by the $25 million man himself, Javier Baez. This means it's an open question as to who's going to start there this season, but I do think it's likely that Baez will be converted to some kind of utility role as he attempts to get his hitting back on track. Sweeney is certainly an upgrade to a guy who would have been an F-tier designation surely, as his advanced hitting numbers include an exemplary average exit velocity, hard hit percentage, and bat speed. This all indicate he could have some success hitting for pop at the big league level eventually, but will that come about in 2025? I guess we'll have to see, but one extremely concerning aspect of his performance last year was his 7 walks to 32 strikeouts, indicating some problems with his swing selection. His fielding certainly is impressive, with 3 DRS and 2 fielding runs in his limited time being posted. As such, much like Jacob Wilson, I'm going to slot him in the C tier, even if their profiles as ball players are far different. Carlos Correa has to be one of the most confounding players we'll look at today, as if you go by what he was able to do in 86 games last year on a rate basis, which included 3.7 WAR, a 905 OPS, a 152 OPS plus, and 36 extra base hits, would certainly be an S tier performance. In fact, he'd probably be there based on his performance in 2022 as well, but 2023 was nowhere close to this, with down numbers across the board, and with him having missed at least 20 games a year every season over the last 3, with the obvious large amount last year, we have to start calling into question his ability to stay healthy a bit. If he plays 150 games with the same level of performance as last season, he'll certainly put some egg on my face here from what I'm about to say, but I do think his recent inconsistency coupled with some injury issues are going to have him slip down to the A tier, for now, for me. The White Sox are the first team that have a starting shortstop penciled in, according to Fangraphs at least, that hasn't played even a single game at the big league level, being top prospect Colson Montgomery. Now, Montgomery had a fairly rough year at AAA last season with a slash line of just 214, 329, 381 to go along with the below league average 88 WRC+. But this was following one of the best years in the minor leagues in 2023. Still, with concerns already about his ability to stick at shortstop long term, coupled with some pretty poor negative momentum, I don't think he'll be above a D tier performer in 2025, especially on a terrible team, but we could easily jump a number of places in the coming years when he's not only surrounded by better help on his own team, but also with a fair bit of seasoning under his belt. Our last division of the video in the East starts with Bo Bichette of the Blue Jays, who saw his stock drop more than almost any other player last season, as he followed never having below an 800 OPS in a full year, or an OPS plus south of 120, with a showing that included marks of just 598 and 71 in those regards, along with easily his worst power output with just 21 extra base hits. One pleasant development was his progression in the field, as he's long been one of MLB's weaker fielding shortstops, but he managed to improve both his simple and advanced values on this front in a down season, posting a positive D-WAR of 0.2 and a career-high tying 1 fielding run value. I, for one, fully expect a bounce back season here, though I don't know if it's going to be all the way back to his peak, which is going to kick what would have been an A tier ranking in recent years down to the B tier for the interim. I still can't get over how crazy it is that Gunnar Henderson last year had a 9.1 WAR, 37 home runs, 159 OPS plus, was an all-star as a shortstop, yet didn't even finish in the top 3 in MVP voting. What an absolutely stacked season in this regard, though there was an argument to be made that he deserved to be there over Juan Soto. But still, this doesn't take anything away from what was one of the best seasons we've seen from a shortstop in recent memory. And you know what's crazy? He might have even rivaled Witt in his StatCast percentile rankings, as he ranked at least in the 92nd percentile in expected WOBA, expected batting average, expected slugging percentage, exit velocity, hard hit percentage, and bat speed. On top of all of this, he was one of the best base runners in the sport as well, with a base running run value of 5, having him ranked in the 94th percentile. Couple all that with pretty average defense, and you had a season that basically had no major flaws, with a laundry list of exceptional metrics to boot, easily cementing him in the S tier. Since I started editing this video about a week ago, the Rays have actually jumped in and done something pretty impressive in my opinion, signing Ha-Seong Kim to a 2-year, $29 million contract. This immediately improves what would have been a D-tier situation at shortstop with Jose Caballero to something far above this. As preceding last year's solid, yet somewhat down from his peak, showing of just 2.6 WAR through 121 games, Ha-Seong had posted back-to-back campaigns with value totals around 5, with a decent output at the plate yielding a 106 OPS plus, some impressive base running with 50 swipes, and some of the better fielding numbers in the game with an FRV of 11. While you can't discount the fact that he's about to turn 30 this season and he's never had a truly standout season at the dish, you also don't want to underrate what he brings in every other facet of the game, most notably with the glove. So, being as how he's averaged 4.6 wins above replacement per 162 games since he made his debut back in 2021, I'm going to say he's an A-tier performer, just crossing over the threshold from B. For the Red Sox, Fangraphs expects Trevor Story to get the majority of the playing time here, but considering the impressive play of Ceddanne Rafaela last year en route to a 2.8 WAR in his rookie season, I don't know if I necessarily agree. I think it's probably more likely that the often injured Story will play a utility role, at least for the time being. As such, Rafaela will be who we grade here, who combined that impressive value total with some decent counting stats, including 23 doubles, 5 triples, and 15 home runs. The problem is, he only walked 15 times all season to 151 strikeouts. Yeah, that's a 10-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio, which, dare I say it, is nearly Javier Baez-like. This obviously limited his overall OPS, knocking it down to 664 with a sub-league average 82 OPS plus. He also had one of the worst chase percentages in the sport last year at 46.4%. His fielding and base running value were nothing to write home about, but weren't bad either, with each being worth a total of 1 run. I think if Ceddanne plays a full season, he should easily be around league average overall, meaning, obviously, I'm going to put him in the C tier. Anthony Volpe's career through his first 2 seasons has been a tale of 2 narratives. One being that he's become one of the best fielders and base runners in the game, with his fielding run value and base running run value each being in the 92nd percentile or above, to go along with 4.1 D-WAR and 52 swipes through his first 319 games. The other, much less positive one, is that he's quite simply not a good hitter, which also has a decent amount of evidence behind it, as his 661 OPS and 83 OPS plus during that same time doesn't leave much to be impressed by. But when you combine these 2 perspectives to get an overall picture of his performance, it still is pretty good, as he's averaged 3.4 WAR a season in those years with a top 10 Rookie of the Year finish and a Gold Glove. He certainly has room to grow offensively, especially with some quality of contact metrics that need to see some improvement before he'll be able to post anything close to standout numbers with the bat, but still, the player he currently is should be penciled in for at least above average production, meaning I'm going to put him in my B tier. That was tier listing every single starting shortstop in the major leagues, so let me know if you agree with my placements, and be sure to let me know any other videos you'd like to see done in this vein. Thanks for watching, and have a great rest of your day.